Good day, children. So today from your book Snapshot, we'll read the fourth lesson, Albert Einstein at School. So you all know very well who was Albert Einstein. And this fellow, when he was at school, first portion that we'll read today means today we'll read both, but the first thing is that when Albert was in school, that time he was having conversation with his teacher, history teacher, Mr. Brown. And the teacher asked him, did the Prussian defeat French at Waterloo? As your teacher asks you questions when they are teaching in the class, in the same way the history teacher, when he was teaching, he asked, who defeated the French at Waterloo? Or did the Prussian defeat the French at Waterloo? So he said, I don't know, sir. Why don't you know? You have been told so often. So long I have been explaining you, I am telling you, and still you say, I don't know. I must have forgotten. So he said, I must have forgotten, I don't know. Did you ever try to learn? No, sir. I can't see any point in learning the dates. So he said, I don't find any point that I should learn the dates and the history. One can always look them up in the book. And if you have any doubt, if you want to know about the dates, you should see it in the book. So Mr. Brown, he was very much irritated, annoyed at him. And he said, you amaze me, Einstein. Don't you realize that one can always look most things up in the book? So we all know that everything we find in the books, that applies to all the facts you learn at school. So whatever you are learning in the school, you will find it in your books. Yes, sir. Then I suppose you don't see any point in learning facts. So the teacher said, so you don't want to learn all the facts that we are teaching you? He said, no, sir. Then you don't believe in education at all? So the teacher asked, you don't believe in education? He said, oh yes, sir, I do. I don't think learning facts in education. He said, I do appreciate the education, but I don't know why all the facts they come in education. In that case, perhaps you will also be so kind to tell the class the Einstein theory of education. Now the teacher asked him, now you tell me, what is the Einstein theory of education? So Albert, he felt shy. Then he said, the teacher said, no, here the answer of Einstein, I think it's not facts that matter but ideas. So he said, the facts are not necessary, but ideas are very much necessary. I don't see the point in learning the dates of battles and even which of the armies killed more men. So the dates are not important, and which army killed more of the enemies or the soldiers, that is not the point. The most interesting thing is learning why those soldiers were trying to kill each other. The fact should be known why the armies of those two countries were fighting, why they were killing each other. So the teacher got angry. He said, that's enough. We don't want a lecture from you. You will stay in for an extra period today. So now the punishment was given to him that he will stay for the extra period. Although I don't imagine it will do you much good. And this kind of punishment will not give you any lesson. It won't do the school any good. Neither the school is going to get benefit out of it. You are a disgrace. I don't know why you continue to come. So you are a disgrace for the school. And don't know. The teacher said, I don't know why you come to school. You don't want to learn anything. So you should not come to school. So he said, it's not my wish. Some of you also, you all don't want to come, but your parents force you to come. In the same way he said, it's not my wish to come to school. Then the teacher said, "You are an ungrateful boy and you should feel ashamed of yourself. You better ask your father to take you away from this school." Albert felt miserable, and when the school was over and he was going towards his home, he thought the day was very bad for him. And after that, most of the days were very bad for him. The next morning, again he will have to come to the same place. He only wished his father would take him away, and his only desire was that his father should take him away from the school. He knew that if I'll ask him, he will not take him out. He knew that the answer would be he would have to stay until he had taken his diploma, and the father's answer will be till he has taken his diploma, he should not leave the school. So going back towards his home, it was not a cheer for him. He was not feeling at all happy. His father had so little money to spare that Albert had found a room in one of the poorest quarters of Munich. So his father was not a wealthy person. He had little money. So he was living in a poor place in Munich. He was away from his house. He was living in Munich and doing his education. So he got a house in the poor area. He did not mind the bad food and lack of comfort, even the dirt and squalor, but he hated the atmosphere of slum violence. He did not mind the bad food, lack of comfort, and the dirty area, but he hated the atmosphere of slum violence. The slum area where he was living, all sorts of violence was there. And what kind of violence? His landlady beat her children regularly. And the landlady where he was living, the landlady, she used to beat her children. Every Saturday her husband came and drunk and beat her. And in the weekends, on Saturdays, when her husband used to come back, he used to get drunk and he used to beat her. "But at least you have a room of your own, which is more than I can say," said Yuri when he called round in the evening. So in the evening, after school in the evening, Yuri, his friend, he came and he met him and he said, "You have got at least a room for yourself. And at least you live." So, as Einstein said, you live in civilized area with civilized people, though they are poor students. So Yuri said, "Those people, they are not civilized at all. Did you not hear that one of them was killed last week in a duel?" So two people were fighting, one killed the other person. Then Einstein asked, "Then what happened to the person who killed him?" He said, "Nothing. The police came and they told him that don't do this again, and then went off." So Albert said, "Oh, and these are the students, and well, these students, they are killing each other. Well, you will be a student one day." So Yuri said, "Don't worry, one day you will also become a student." Means after passing the school, when you go to the college, then you will be called a student. "I doubt it," said Albert glumly. "I don't think I'll ever pass the exam for the school diploma." So he said, "I don't think that I am going to pass the school diploma and then I'll become a student." He told his cousin, and his cousin was Elsa. He told her also. When she came to Munich, at present she was living in Berlin, where her father was doing the business, and he said, "I'm sure you can learn enough to pass, Albert." And she encouraged him and she told him that you at least learn something, you study that much that you will pass the classes and you will get the diploma. And she said, "If you try, you can do it." And she said that she knew many of the children who are stupid, but they go through the exam. They say you don't have to know anything. You have to understand what you are taught, just be able to repeat it in the exams. So she said, you don't have to learn anything, but whatever you listen in the classroom, what the teacher is teaching, that only you're going to write in the exam, then you're going to pass. That's the whole trouble, said Albert. Albert said, this is the trouble that I don't want to do. I'm not good at learning things by heart. So he said, I cannot learn things by heart. So she said, you don't need to be good. Anyone can learn like a parrot. So if you want, you can learn like a parrot. You just don't try. And yet I'll always see you with a book under your arm. And I find you carrying a book under your arm all the time. What is the one you are reading? So which book you are carrying with you? So he said, I carry a book of geology. Geology, rocks and things, do you learn that? No, we have hardly any science at school. So he said, we don't learn science in the school. And other things we learn, but not the science. And he was a scientist. His learning was towards science. His interest was towards science. Then why are you studying it? Because I like it. Isn't that a good enough reason? So his cousin asked him, then why you carry the book in your hand all the time? So he said, because I like it and there is a reason to like this book. You're right, of course, Albert, she said, but it won't help you with your diploma. So she said that this book is not going to help you with the diploma. Apart from books on science, his only comfort was music, and he played his violin regularly until his landlady asked him to stop. And his interest was in science, and after that his second interest was music. And whenever he was there in his room, he used to play violin. And when his landlady used to get fed up, she used to come and stop him. That's wailing gets on my nerves, she says. There's enough noise in this house and all the kids howling. And she says that all the children, they make so much noise in the house, and you with your violin, you are making a nuisance. So you better keep quiet, close the music. Albert was tempted to point out that most of the time it was she who made howl, and he decided it was better to say nothing. And he used to get annoyed. He wanted to say that it's you who keep on making your children howl all the time, shout all the time by beating them. But he did not say anything to her. I must get away from here, he told Yuri. And then he told his friend Yuri that he wanted to go away from there after 6 months alone in Munich. It was absurd that I should go like this. In the end, it will turn out I have been wasting my father's money and everyone's time. It will be better for all if I stop now. So he said, after 6 months, I have to leave the place. But if I keep on studying for coming 6 years, 6 months, they will say to me that I am always wasting the money of my parents and wasting the time of everyone. So why not leave the place now itself? And then what will you do? The friend asked, what you're going to do after that? I don't know, he said. He said, I'll go to Milan, and there my father he'll send me back. His eyes gleamed with sudden idea, and then he said, Yuri, can you find me a doctor? Is any doctor friendly to you? So he said, I know a lot of medical students and some of them are friendly. Doctor, no, I've never had enough money to go to one. Why? Then Yuri said, many of the students are my friends. Doctor, he said, I don't have enough money to go to doctor. And then he asked him, why you want a doctor? So he said, suppose that I had a nervous breakdown. So he said, I have a nervous breakdown, I'll go to the doctor, and doctor will write in the certificate that I have a nervous breakdown and I should leave the school for a few days, and then the school is bad for me, and with this certificate I can leave the school. So Yuri said, I don't imagine that any of the doctor is going to say like that. Albert said, just try to find the doctor who specializes in nerves. So he said, there are plenty of them, and then he hesitated, and then he said, I'll ask some of the students if they know, if you like. So he said, okay, alright, I'll ask the students if they know any of the doctor like this. Will you? Oh, thank you. Albert's eyes were shining. Now Albert was very happy. He thanked his friend Yuri. Wait a moment, I have found one yet. And he said, don't be so much happy. I have not yet found a doctor for you. Oh, but you will. And he said, but I am certain that you are going to find a doctor. And if I do, I don't, if he'll be willing to help you. And he said, if I find a doctor, I'm not certain whether the doctor is going to help you in any way or not. He will, Albert said. I'm going to have a real nervous breakdown. And he said, I'm going to have a breakdown. To make it easier for him, he laughed merrily. And then he was very much happy that by the time Yuri would find a doctor, he would certainly have the nervous breakdown, and the doctor will be able to write a certificate for him. I'll never see you looking like nervous, remarked Yuri. And Yuri said, I don't see you nervous at all. Albert said, a day or two at school will soon put that right. And then he said, 2-3 days more I'll go to school, then I'll be nervous breakdown only. I'll have it. Certainly he has lost his high spirit when Yuri saw him next. And next time when Yuri met him, he saw that Einstein's spirits were down. He was really having a nervous breakdown. And he said, I can't stand it any longer. I really shall have a nervous breakdown. That is satisfy any of the doctors. And then he said, okay, now it's too much for me. I don't want to go to the school. And this time, when I go to the doctor will find that I have got a nervous breakdown. So, this much we'll read today. And tomorrow, means in the next class, we'll be doing the rest of the things. So, goodbye children.